Hi YouTube, and welcome back to my Laminator series. Okay, so shaker cards are really popular. Several days ago I got in my order from Paper Tray Inc. Their market shaker shape kit. And so what came to mind was, why not make foiled confetti? Or in other words, foiled shake shake. And so I'm going to show you guys some different types of confetti that I have made. What you're looking at right here is a combination of clear confetti, and they're all different types of shapes here. But you're looking at foiled and double-sided foil confetti. Look at all that goodness. And it has a nice sound to it, so I know in a shaker card that will shake very nice. Let me show you others. Some more double-sided, and I mainly used hearts in another shape. I want to talk about the different tools you can use to create your own shake shake. So that was double-sided. Ever seen clear shake shake or clear confetti? So you already know that this is acetate, but we're going to discuss different types of acetate because some work better than others. So this is a tray full of different size hearts. Okay, still more. Sorry for that, shake shake. This is vellum. Vellum is a good medium to use to make confetti. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but some of these heart pieces has just a dab of foil on it. And this next tray, I'll show you something similar. Yeah. This tray here, these are heart pieces, but let me try to find one. Separate one from the other. And some of them are sticking together. But take a look at that little heart there. So the foil is on this piece like in specks. And really all these pieces, the foil is on it in specks. And that, so this tray has snowflakes in it. And they're clear snowflakes. Perfect for the winter holiday season. And then this tray has hearts, but it's colored transparency. So I'll share with you guys how I colored that. So now I'm going to make, okay, so the tools that I used to create my confetti, well, I used punches by Martha Stewart. This happens to be one of her big punches, and I looked for punches that had the shapes appropriate for confetti. So this is a corner punch, but I liked those four shapes here, and I actually showed you one. This tray has like different types of confetti, but this is the shape here. So that's a nice size. I didn't want to go out and buy additional punches. I have a lot of her punches, though I did go out and buy one yesterday. I looked in my craft room once again for punches that were appropriate for confetti, and this is the matching border punch, so you actually get more pieces here. I also used this punch here, which has several small flowers on it. Now when you use a punch like this, in my opinion, it's best to punch it with your feet on the ground. And I have to say, these punches are harder to use, and so if you want double-sided foiling, you might not be able to do it depending on the acetate that you use, but it definitely will give you more resistance. I also used her border punch of snowflakes, and so she has a lot of border punches. So once again, you could look for those punches that are appropriate for confetti. Now, remember these before punches like this became popular? We had a lot of these. And you can actually use these to create confetti. They come with different types of shapes. This is a heart, and this one is just a circle. Now I have to say, when you use these, depending on your acetate, you might have to help the paper or the film release from the little part in there. But nonetheless, it does work. Last but not least, you can use confetti dies. Now this die came with it came from Paper Tray Ink with one of their sets. Now all acetate will not work with dies. So I tried out several different acetate or transparency films, and this first one, well, I got a whole stack of this from, I think, a thrift store. So I'm not sure what type of acetate paper this is. I think it's that type that's used in classrooms, or at least when I was younger. A teacher would use her Sharpie to write on it and put it inside that projector that had the light. And anyway, so I think it might be that type. Paper by Oriental Trading. This is 12 by 12 sheet here. And then I used something I've had for a long time. I'm not sure if this is even made any longer, but it's inkjet transparency film by Office Max. And so out of all three, well, they all worked, but the one that was superior was the inkjet. And that was superior because the punches worked better and it had no static. Now Oriental Trading's acetate did not do bad because once again it worked, but I think theirs had some static, just like this one had static. So in this carrier sheet, I'm going to be fusing heat and bond to transparency. And I believe this transparency is the one that's used in classrooms. Going to sandwich it between or inside the carrier sheet. This carrier sheet is by Heidi Swap. I got it from my local Joann's. And I'm using a purple cow laminator. I'm going to feed that through. And I only have to feed this through one time in order to get the fusing. Confetti used, and I'm going to let it cool down for a second because it is quite warm. If you don't know what heat and bond is, I think this is heat and bond. If not, it's something similar. It's used to fuse adhesive onto fabric, and it comes in a roll like this. The foils that I'm using are by Heidi Swap, which is this color here, and foil by Cricut for their Udo machine. So let's take a look at this, see how this fared. Oh. I thought I fused the wrong side. My carrier sheets get really messy, but they always work. Okay, so I have the adhesive on the transparency. I'm going to go cut it down to the same size as my foil. So I used a Sizzix die to cut out my transparency as well as my little foil squares. And let me point out, when you're working with these foils, especially Heidi Swaps, it's really thin and fragile. You want to use a very sharp scissor for it, and just be careful when you handle it, because if you accidentally rub off foil, it will affect how your finished project looks. So I'm ready to apply the foil to my transparency that now has the heat and bond adhesive on it. Now you're going to see in this video, you could use different types of adhesive. And the way you apply your foil, you put the ugly side down. So you put the ugly side touching the adhesive. And so I am going to add this to my carrier sheet. Now I know some people, they don't use a carrier sheet. Well, I have another laminator and I just destroyed it because I did not use my carrier sheet. And so I would say just be careful. You have to have the right type of machine if you don't use a carrier sheet. I got 3 things stuck in mine, and the last thing that got stuck, well, none of it came out, but it started to burn. And I actually didn't use the carrier sheet one time with this, and I had to use my tweezers to get it out. So you want to let this cool before you peel off the film, because if you don't and you have to send this through again, and if you lift up the foil, you can send it through after that, but you may not get that smooth finish. Usually I only have to go through one time, but let's see. It's cool enough. And look at that. Total smooth coverage, except for a couple little dots, and I probably scratched that, but I have total coverage on this transparency. And I'm going to leave the back. Well, okay, let's talk about the back. I'm not sure if the camera is picking up that color, but it's silver. And you can leave it as is. So to add the double foiling, I have another piece of heat and bond. I am going, excuse me, to just layer this on the back of the foil. And also send this through my laminator. Okay, so I have cut down a piece of heat and bond, and I have applied that to my acetate sheet. And you want to make sure that you keep your protective sheet on top of your heat and bond or your adhesive, because you don't want the adhesive on the top to stick to your carrier sheet. I'm going to place that inside my carrier sheet, and I do have smaller carrier sheets, but I'm going to use this one for now. Okay, so that has run through and it's cooled down, and if I peel this back, I still have, well, I now have adhesive on my transparency sheet. But what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is add adhesive to this side, because I'm going to add foil to both sides. I just did an unnecessary step. I could have applied adhesive on both sides at one time. Now what I'm going to do is remove the protective sheet and go ahead and add my foil down, and you want to add the ugly side down on the adhesive, so the pretty side should be facing you. This foil is by Heidi Swap on this side, and the other side is by Cricut Udo. So I'm going to run this back through my laminator. Ready. So it's done. It's cooled down, and when I remove the film, perfect solid coverage. There is like an indentation right there, but that's okay. That might happen every now and again. And you see down here, this side actually didn't fuse too well, but that's okay too, because I will be using a punch to make confetti. So to make my first batch of confetti, I am going to use a confetti punch by Martha Stewart. This is the one I picked up yesterday. I had never seen this punch before, and my local Michael's had it. And this punch works great. Now, all punches will not work. You have to play around with what punch works for you. but I just turn it over or upside down and I punch. You heard that click? Now, I'll let that sit for a second because this is double-sided foil, and sometimes the punch will lock up. It normally does not lock up when I do one side foil, but this is a double-sided, so this did lock up. Now I'm going to use this big punch and see what happens. I'm going to place it on the table. And I'm at a bad angle, but it did punch out. You see the shapes there, and the bigger punch did not lock up. So let me do it again. And it's better too, because it's a little thicker, to put it on the table and just press down on it. I'm trying not to hit the camera with my lips. So the big punch did not lock up at all. I'm going to try the heart confetti punch because I had really good results with this. But I'm going to try it again. Just on the table. Okay, yeah. So the double foiled, well, you're going to get some resistance and you will get some locking up. So I'm not sure if you have the patience or you would want to test it out with your punches. It's the superior acetate, which is the inkjet acetate, and I'm going to use Xyron stickiness for this one to send this through my Creatopia machine. And I'm going to pull back the stickiness, and I'm going to apply the foil right over it. I want to make sure I do it the right way, which is the wrong way it looks like. Okay, so I have applied my foil, my Heidi Swap foil, to this side. And you know what? You do not need to use a laminator when you use certain type of adhesives. And you do see, I actually like that look. I don't have solid coverage, and I really didn't press it down in there. Let's see if okay, so I've actually gotten better results. Actually, I did it with paper. When you use your Xyron machine with paper, you don't need to use the foil. But I want to show this because I like that gritty, that distressed look. I think that's really cool. Okay, so okay, you guys, so I did not apply adhesive to the other side because I don't want to send this back through my Xyron machine. So I'm going to apply adhesive, but I'm going to use these sticky dots, die cut adhesive sheets. So I will be putting, you know what, I don't have to run this through the laminator either. So what I'm going to do is just lay this down and try not to get any sticky on the front side. So I have a bunch of sticky dots. Now, if I run that through the laminator, it will smooth out those dots. But if I don't run it through the laminator, it leaves like a really cool effect of dots. So what I'm going to do here, this is the Cricut Udo foil. I'm going to lay that down. And I'll lift that up in a second. So I have foil on both sides, and I'm just rubbing that in. The laminator, it warms the adhesive and just gives it, I think, a better coverage. But let me see how this looks. So that side is okay. When you're doing confetti, it don't have to be perfect, but you see the look it gives, and you can't feel the adhesive here either. And so I'm ready to punch, but people are crafters, save all your scraps because I'm going to show you a tip how you can use those. Now let's see if I have better ease with punching. That was easier. And I am holding it. Maybe I should sit it down. Yeah, so with this transparency, it's not being stuck as long. And I just hit it. And look at that. I like that look. And I have some confetti in there. I guess that will come out when it's ready. Let me try to do it. Down like this. Yeah, so it pops up a lot quicker using the inkjet transparencies. You really see the effect of the better punching when you create either just one-sided foil acetate, or when you just want clear, transparent confetti. But these are so pretty. I like that look. So those adhesive dots, oh, they're cute. They're so adorable. Take a look at them. They're cute. Let me get a piece of paper and show it. So I'm not sure the lighting with this, but these are sticking together because of probably the adhesive, and I have the foil on both sides, so there's something different I did there, because these over here, they're not sticky, but these I think are so cute. So if I decided I just wanted one side with foil, let me show you how easy that is to do. Actually, that's a little bit harder. Do I have the film on there still? I almost feel like I do. Oh, I do. Okay. That's what it was. I'm like, that's hard. Okay. So you want to remember to remove your film. Well, that still wasn't, I mean, it wasn't hard, but it wasn't as easy as the ones I did. And it's really not that hard to punch. The camera might make it look harder than what it is. Let me do it this side. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, you want to put it on the table. And it probably matters which side you have facing the actual metal part of the punch. I just like to see my punch. Okay, so yeah, it's a lot easier when you put it down on the table. But as you can see, when you just have one side glitter, you may, well, I don't know if you would like to have that silver side showing. Okay, so it may not be fitting all the time to have silver showing on your confetti. So I experimented with different types of medium to tint the color. I used alcohol inks, and actually in this tray here, the pink that you see is not foil. I actually turned the foil over to the silver side, let me get a piece. Turned the foil over to the silver side and applied alcohol ink with a dauber. Let that sit for a minute or two, and you'll be good to go. But you do got to be careful because this foil is fragile, and you don't want to get any alcohol ink on the pretty side. I was surprised that it held alcohol ink very well. What I did here, this is Heidi Swapp's foil, was I used stained glass paint to paint that side blue. So these come in different colors, and you could try different paints as well, but I thought stained glass, well, this is what I had on hand, so I used that. But I have not made any confetti with this yet. I just wanted to test it to see if the paint would stick, and it did. Okay, so now I want to show you really the difference between the acetate paper. This is the acetate that's used with those projectors, and I'm going to punch through it. So you don't hear that clicking sound, but I'm going to turn it over and do it on the table as well. Not sure if you see the glitter or the confetti there. So actually, yeah, that's just a better punch altogether. So when you use the table, I didn't use the table with this acetate when I was experimenting. So actually, I'm glad to know that it punches out very well. But the only thing with this acetate, you get a lot of static, so it sticks to your fingers. See? And I tried using a dryer sheet, and that didn't help. Maybe I could have used a little bit more. But now I'm going to show you the difference with the inkjet transparency film, which is here. And I know that this is the inkjet because theirs come with this layer of tape there. So I'm going to hold it first, and I like to look at it. But you see, you hear that click even when I have it upside down like that. And it pops like everywhere. And though that time it stuck, that's the first time it's actually stuck with this type of transparency film. The punch was so much easier, and you don't have to press all the way because that causes the stuckness. And that confetti is just, it's popping out. It's even a different type of sound when it hits the paper. See, and it pops everywhere. The other paper did not do that. And so you could easily make a lot of clear confetti or shake using acetate, and if you can get your hands on the inkjet. So let me show you. I showed this earlier, but this is blue confetti, and what I simply did was I used this spray to spray paint it. So you could use any color and get any transparent type of confetti. Okay, so if you're using the confetti die, it do not work even with several passes when you have double foil. When you have single foil, but you have to send it through a couple times. I just forgot. Well, I took it out, took the die away from the foil too quick, and I couldn't line it back up. But I've done it before, and you can use these with transparency and one layer of foil. Okay, so I want to show you one way you can use your scraps of foil. This is that sticky dot sheet that I used earlier. And I'm going to go through my little scrap tin and just place scraps of foil down. through the laminator. Okay, you guys, I'm having a bad technological day, probably one of the worst techno days in my crafting life. I'm serious. So anyway, I just made a boo-boo, so I'm not going to do it over. I'll show you guys how you can use your foil scraps. Basically, apply your adhesive. You could use a sticky dot or whatever type of adhesive, and just cut up or layer your scraps down. You can even see a pincushion stamp image that I have there. So layer it in any way that you want. Create confetti, make die cuts. I mean, you can really get creative. All your scraps, like look at this scrap here. That's a lot of foil. And so I wouldn't dare throw that away. Keep it in a bin and use it to your heart's delight. So to sum up this video, you can use a laminator to make your foil sheets, but you don't have to, depending on the type of adhesive that you use. When you use your punch, because all punches are different, depending on the acetate that you use, you might need to have your punch on a hard surface. Some acetate papers work better than others, so just keep that in mind. All punches will not work. Even some of Martha Stewart's don't work. Whoops, sorry about that. You could make clear confetti. That's something I have not seen before, but that should work very well with your punches. And you can spray paint your acetate different colors. You can add a tint to the back of your acetate when you use your foil. You could use alcohol inks to tint the back side of your foil or to tint your acetate. Use different types of punches for the occasion. And you could use heat and bond. And once again, Xyron, sticky dot sheets. You can use even probably, I haven't tried this yet, but use your tape runner. Well, I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have found this video helpful and you will try your hand at making your own shake and shake.